right? So here there is two types of girdles are presented, those are pectoral and pelvic girdle. Pectoral girdle is nothing but shoulder girdle, and pelvic girdle is there is in the region of hip region, means in the region of pubic region, that is pelvic girdle is presented. So pectoral girdle both hands are attaches, and pelvic girdle both legs are attaches, right? So each girdle, pectoral girdle which is consist with 4 bones, and pelvic girdle which is consist with 2 bones, right? So pectoral girdle consists with 4 bones, those are clavicles 2 and scapula 2. Clavicle 2 and scapula 2, those are pectoral girdle, clavicle and scapula. So there is pectoral girdle consists with 4 bones, clavicle and scapula. There is clavicle 2 bones and scapula 2 bones, 2 plus 2, 4 bones are presented. So for the pectoral girdle, there is both hands are attached, right? And pelvic girdle which is presented in the region of lower abdomen, in the region of pubic region. So in the pelvic region and the pelvic girdle, both the legs are attached to the pelvic girdle. So pelvic girdle which is made up of with 2 coxal bones. So 2 coxal bones are jointed, and for that to both legs are attached, right? And here one mistake given here, in the forelimbs, carpals, the bones which are presented in the region of wrist, how many it is? 8 bones. Excuse me. Carpals, the bones which are presented in the region of wrist are 8 bones, right? So just correct it here. So humerus 1, radius 1, one hand I am telling, humerus 1, radius 1, ulna 1, carpals 8, metacarpals 5, phalanges 14. Okay. So 14 plus 5, 19, 19 plus 8, 27, 27 plus 3, 30 bones. Clear? Right. So this is overall flow chart of human skeletal system, the number of bones which are presented in human skeletal system. So let us discuss regarding about all the bones in our body, right? So it consists of a framework of bones 206 and few cartilages. A human skeletal system has 2 parts, that is axial and appendicular. So how many total number of bones? 206. And the skeletal system which is made up of with bones and cartilage, right? So human skeletal system has 2 parts, that is axial and appendicular. Axial how many bones? 80, and appendicular how many bones? 126. 120 plus 80, 136 plus 80, total 206 bones. So first one, axial skeleton, right? So axial skeleton, what bones are presented? Skull, vertebral column, sternum and ribs. Skull, vertebral column, sternum and ribs. So total number of bones which are presented in skull, how many? Total including ear ossicles and hyoid, 29 bones. In vertebral column, how many? There is 26 bones. Sternum how many? 1 bone. Ribs how many? 12 pairs, that is 24, right? So skull, 29 bones in the skull. So this region is called cranium bones. So in the region of cranium, cranial bones are presented. So in the top of the head, so whenever in the region of front of the head, those are facial bones, right? Okay. So cranial bones how many? The cranial bones are 8. The cranial bones are 8. So those are frontal bone. This is frontal bone, and parietal bones. Frontal bone 1, parietal bones 2, and this is temporal bone. Sides, there is temporal bones 2, and occipital bone. So below temporal bone, occipital bone 1, and sphenoid and ethmoid. So this is sphenoid bone, and this one is ethmoid bone. In NCERT textbook diagram given with labeling, so most important, just you go through that, right? So include, so this is cranial bones are 8, that is frontal 1, parietal 2, temporal 2, and occipital 1, and sphenoid 1, and ethmoid 1, right? So total number of bones presented in the cranium region, that is 8 bones. And next one, facial bones are 14 bones. So facial, front of the head, the bones are presented, those are facial bones, those are 14 bones. So nasal bones, so in the region of nasal cavity, the nasal bones, and maxillae, this is upper jaw, there is maxillae, 2 maxillae are presented, and the zygomatic bone. So this is zygomatic bone, 2 zygomats, zygomatic bones and lacrimal bone. In the eye orbits, the bones are presented, those are lacrimal bones too. And palatines, the palatines which are presented in the region of buccal cavity. So there is two palatine regions, two palatine bones. And inferior nostrils, inferior nasal cavity, there is inferior nostrils, two bones. And mandible, mandible means what? Lower jaw, one. And omer bone which is presented in this region, so that is also one. So total number of bones which are presented in the region of facial region, 14 bones, right? So 14 plus 8, 22 bones. So along with hyoid and ear ossicles, 29 bones presented in skull. So hyoid bone, so there is U-shaped bones which is presented in the region of below the buccal cavity, right? And what is the specialty of hyoid bone in our body? Without articulation, this bone is presented. That is the specialty of hyoid bone. So without attachment of any of other bone, that is the specialty of hyoid bone. And next one, ear ossicles. Each ear consists with three small bones. So those are called ear ossicles. So that is malleus, incus, stapes. In this order only you should remember. First malleus and incus and stapes, right? What is the specialty of stapes? There is the smallest bone in our body is stapes. Up to this clear, right? So each ear 3, there is 3 into 2, there is 6 bones are presented. So total number of bones in skull, 29 bones. Up to this clear, right? Next one, vertebral column. So how many bones are presented in vertebral column? Total 26 bones are presented in the region of vertebral column. So where it is presented, dorsal or ventral side? In the region of dorsal side, vertebral column is presented. So vertebral column, so what is the backup of vertebral column? So this is cervical region, so this is thoracic region, and this one is lumbar, sacrum and coccygeal, sacrum and coccygeal, right? So cervical vertebrae, how many cervical vertebrae are presented? 7. So thoracic vertebrae, how many? 12. Lumbar, how many? 5. Sacrum, 1. Coccygeal, 1. Clear? Cervical 7, thoracic 12, lumbar 5, sacrum 1, coccygeal 1. Here what given formed of 26 vertebrae include cervical 7, thoracic vertebrae 12, lumbar 5, sacral 1 and coccygeal 1. So coccygeal and sacral are fused. So which bones which are presented in our body in the vertebral column, which bones are fused? That is sacral and coccygeal bones. So skull articulates with first vertebrae is called atlas with the help of two occipital condyles, that is called dicondylic skull. So first vertebrae is called atlas in the cervical region. First vertebrae is called atlas. For the atlas, skull is attaches. So there is two condylices is presented. So whenever two occipital condylices attaches with the atlas, so that only our skull is called dicondylic skull. In case one condyle is presented, that is monocondyle, which are not presented in the mammals. So in the humans, dicondylic skull only. So dicondylic skull means the articulations, there is two condylices of occipital bone which is attaches with first bone of vertebral column, that is atlas, right? Okay, so that only it is called dicondylic skull. And vertebrae has a central hollow portion, neural column, through which the spinal cord passes. What is the purpose of vertebral column? So it is a backbone, right? It is called as backbone. So whenever vertebrae, each vertebrae is consists with the central hollow portion is presented. In the region of vertebrae, there is centrally hollow, and along with that hollow portion, so what is passes? Neural, the spinal cord is passes from where? From it is extends from brain to up to the region of lumbar region. After this clear, so from the spinal cord, spinal nerve formation is takes place. Spinal cord is the one of the content of what? Central nervous system, right? And next one, number of cervical vertebrae are 7 in almost all mammals. So there is a cervical vertebrae are 7 in all mammals. In some of the mammals, there is more number of cervical vertebrae also presented, like giraffe, right? The vertebral column protects the spinal cord, supports the head, and serves as the point of attachment for the ribs and muscles.